Today's episode, we're going to be doing a portrait of Isis. We're going to be using this picture. We're going to be using this picture of her from her earlier years, and it'll be transferred into a portrait. So we're going to cut it out. Hope you enjoy it. Already, as you know, the picture we're going off of is this picture of her right here. And thanks to Old Crow or Don from the community forum, he generated the picture into a pattern, and looks fairly simple, and everything will work out pretty good. So let's just get started, and I'll start by cutting out this pattern with a 1/2 inch border of white around it. That's like I usually do that for all my portraits I do. I like from there it'll be a 1/2 inch out, so I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll get my piece of wood ready, and I'll put the pattern on it, and then I'll show you it from there. Already the pattern is applied to the wood, and I just use a 1/4 inch Baltic birch, and then I'll have a backer on it after I cut all this out, and that'll also be out of 1/4 inch Baltic birch. But until we get there, what I did here is I just put the masking tape on first to help heal up the pattern. Put the pattern on there, and clear box tape to help lubricate the blade or keep the pattern on in case it peels up during cutting. So now that we got that done, we can go over to the drill press, drill our entry holes, and then we'll be over to the scroll saw. Already we're over here at the scroll saw. All of our entry holes are drilled, so we can go ahead and start cutting. Now something I want to point out here is I just finished this cut here, and there's a lot of maybe flimsy pieces. To avoid breaking it off, a little trick I learned is to place the piece that we just cut back into the spot, and that way when we maneuver it, if you use your finger to hold on to that area to make a turn or something, it won't snap it off because it's secured in there. So just leave that piece in there, and we can go into a different hole and start cutting more. the scroll saw, now we can peel up the pattern. Alright, I got the pattern peeled up, and I went ahead and saved this piece. Alright, I got the backer cut out, and it's the same size as the top that has the dog in it. And I just want to point out, the Baltic birch, sometimes you don't always get the nicest of pieces like that, how it's all cracked and weird. And that you can take advantage of and use it as the backer, because you don't need super good wood, because what I'm going to do is paint one side black, and then the good side I'll keep as the back of it, because that'll have the nice clear coat on it and all that. So don't let that imperfection in the wood make you throw away the piece of wood, because it's still good wood that you can use, and in this case we're going to use it. So now what I'm going to do is sand. I'm going to use this quarter sheet sander, 220 right off the bat. And remember to be careful around any of these areas that could be nicked out with the sander. So go over it real easy and let the sander do the work. You don't have to apply too much pressure to it. Just let the sander do the work and you should be good. Alright, for the backer, what I'm going to do is, I know a lot of people use the black felt and use that as the part where the creates the shadow of the actual portrait, but I don't have that, and I've always just used black spray paint. So you can use either one, but I'm just going to use black spray paint today. So I'm just going to be using the just regular old color place black. And give it a nice coat. What I like about this paint is you can work with it after about a half hour, because it'll dry completely. It's a fast drying paint. And again, you don't have to worry about the edges of this, because it will be sanded when the two pieces are glued together. So that looks like a good first coat, and that's probably all we'll need. Now while I let that black dry on this piece, even though we sanded, and I'm using a reverse tooth blade, there's still some frizzlies in between some of these cuts that you can just get out with a file or whatever, and it might show up easier on the back, like right there. Some of those little frizzlies can make it look bad once it's glued to the backer. So just get those out with a little file or something, and I'll be right back with you to glue it up after the paint's dried. Now already our backer is dry, and we can go ahead and glue this on, and I'll show you the process for that. What we're going to do is flip it over to the back, and we're going to be using this Aleene's Clear Gel Tacky Glue. And I say I use this for every episode, but this is the one where it really matters, because this isn't super intricate of a fretwork piece of a portrait, but again, the squeeze out is sort of impossible to get out. And if you use a glue that dries like orange or whatever, it just makes it look real messy. So if you use this clear drying, you can have squeeze out and you still really can't notice it. So this is really nice. What you want to do is just glue everywhere on it. What we're going to do is just use a little acid brush or whatever and spread it around, and you want to make sure you get every little piece, like these little islands here, because if you don't get those glued down, they can still snap off if you're not handling it carefully. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this all around, glue everywhere, and don't use too little glue and don't use too much glue. Just be smart about it, and I'll be right back after this is all done being spreaded out. Already I got all the glue spreaded out. I can just flip this piece over very carefully and set it on top of the backer. And with this clear gel tacky glue, the name gel because it is a gel and you have time to work with it, so I like to let it tack up a little bit before I put the clamp on it. That way it doesn't slide around too much on me. And I'm just going to be using these spring clamps that have the nice rubber ends on it so it doesn't mark the wood. So I'm going to go ahead and clamp this up and I'll show you what it looks like after I do that. It's all clamped up now and you probably think that it's a lot of clamps. Well, it is. But again, I have a lot of clamps where that came from. And just want to make sure you get all even clamping pressure in these little islands of things here. And I'll just let it dry now, I guess, and we'll be back with you after the glue's dry to sand up the edges and get her even more done. Alright, we're off the clamps now and the glue is dry. So now what we can do is go on the edges and go over to the belt sander. I'll sand those all nice and flush with both front and back pieces, and I'll be right back with you. Alrighty, so as you can see, I got some nice transitions on the edges, and also I just went ahead and rounded them over to ease them off so they're not sharp. Now what I'm going to do is drill 2 holes that are going to be probably about 2 inches from each side. Make sure that they're square and everything with the whole top of it, because it'll look weird when it's hanging up if it's lopsided. So I'm just going to drill 2 holes and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, I got our 2 holes drilled, and those are just going to be for the, I'm going to be putting twine in there to hanging this up. I just used a 1/4 inch drill bit to do that. Now what I'm going to do is burn in the back. There's the burning in the back. Now what I'm going to do is get this clear coat. And it's the Krylon Clear Acrylic. That's what it looks like after 1 coat. I'm going to probably put 1 or 2 more coats on that, flip it over and do the same. And I'll be right back with you to do the final step. Alright, all of our clear coat is done and did on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is drill those holes because I'm going to be putting twine through it, and this will just be so it can be hung up. So I just normally go from the front to the back of it. It doesn't really matter what direction the knot is. I usually do a double knot. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in there and show you the final product. Alright, so I got the twine on there, and it doesn't really matter how big of a piece you put on it, but should be alright, and it'll straighten out once it's hung up for a while. But so that's pretty much done. Thanks for watching this video on how to make this picture into this wooden portrait. Thanks for watching. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Dylan.
And this is Isis. We'll see you later.